In front of you are the following leaders. Minister Pemmy Majodina, Minister for Water and Sanitation. We have Premier of the Northwest, Mr. Panyaza Lissufi, of Gauteng. I'm exposing my origin. Sorry, I'm exposing my origin. Apologies. Premier of Gauteng, Mr. Panyaza Lissufi. Deputy Minister of Water and Sanitation, Mr. David Mahlobo. MEC for Kokta, Mr. Jacob Mamabolo. The Executive Mayor of the City of Johannesburg, Mr. Dada Morero. Of Mafiki. Chairperson of Water, Ramateu Munyokolo. Chairperson of Johannesburg Water, Dineo Majavu. DG for Water and Sanitation, Dr. Sean Phillips. Group Executive Officer of Water, Mr. Sipo Musai. Managing Director of Johannesburg Water, Mr. Nchaveni Mukwevo. Thank you very much. My name is Cornelius Monama. I'm the Media Liaison Officer in the Office of the Minister. Without any further ado, we'll invite the Minister to read the statement on behalf of the collective. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Munama. Deputy Minister Mahlobo, Premier Panyaza Lissufi, I'm 1,000. MEC for Kota, MEC Mamabulo, the Executive Mayor of the City of Johannesburg, Mayor Dada Morero, MMC members present here, the Chair of the Board, Water Board, the Group CE, the Joburg Water, DG, and the entire team. The media houses present here, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much and good afternoon to you. Johannesburg has kept us on our toes. These media houses were with Minister Ramakhupa. You are here now, but thank you very much. It is because of you that our people get to know what is happening around them and how is government intending to fix their challenges. We're here today to address the matters of water, especially in Johannesburg. It is not only Johannesburg that is affected by water disruptions in Gauteng. Media houses will remember that from the 18th of September, we had to put Gauteng on restriction level 1. And the reasons for that was that Gauteng is consuming more than they are supposed to. They consume more than 278 per capita per day as against the international norm that is 173 per capita per day. We met several times with municipalities of Gauteng, and I want to thank the Premier of Gauteng, the MEC for Kokta, all mayors of Gauteng. We met several times to bring to their attention that if they are not changing the mindset of the citizens, we might experience a lot of challenges around Gauteng. But today we are here for Johannesburg. Residents of Johannesburg have been experiencing increasingly frequent interruptions to their daily water supply, ranging from 4 to 18 days. We have received a lot of complaints, concerns from residents in various areas of Johannesburg. This causes great hardship for residents and is an impediment to economic growth to the city. Yesterday, Sunday the 10th, the Minister of Water and Sanitation, Ms. Pemmy Majodina, convened an urgent meeting to address challenges of water in the city of Johannesburg. The meeting was attended by Gauteng Premier Mr. Lissufi, the Deputy Minister of Water and Sanitation, Deputy Minister Mahlobo, and Deputy Minister Sihlulo, the executive mayor of Johannesburg, the MEC for Kokta, Mr. Jacob Mamabulo, as well as the Rand Water, the City Power, and Johannesburg Water. The meeting reached unanimous agreement on the causes of water supply interruptions and what needs to be done to restore a stable water supply to the residents of Johannesburg. Ladies and gentlemen, Johannesburg Water, which is an entity of the city, buys treated water from Rand Water and supplies it to the residents of the city. Rand Water in turn buys water untreated from us as the Department of Water and Sanitation. Rand Water abstracts raw water from the integrated Vaal River system, which consists of 10 interconnected dams, including major dams such as Vaal Dam, Sterkfontein Dam, and the Katse Dam and Mohali Dams in Lesotho. Rand Water treats the raw water so that it meets the drinking water quality standards. Rand Water stores bulk storage reservoirs and pumps it into municipality reservoirs. That is the value chain of water. From the municipal storage reservoir, the water either flows under the force of gravity or it is pumped through various distribution pipelines to the households and industries across the city. To ensure a continuous, reliable supply of water to users, even in times of drought, the Department of Water and Sanitation set a limit on the amount of raw water that Rand Water is allowed to abstract annually from the integrated Vaal River system. The limit currently for Rand Water to supply water in Gauteng is 1,802 million cubic meters of water per annum. The demand for water in Johannesburg has grown and continues to grow as a result of economic growth as well as population growth. The Department of Water and Sanitation anticipated this growth in demand and put in place the plans to address it as back as 1980 through the Lesotho Highland Water Project, which supplies additional water into the integrated Vaal River system from the Katse and the Mohale dams built in the mountains of Lesotho. The first phase of this Lesotho Highland Water Project was completed in 2003 and delivered 780 million cubic meters of water into the integrated Vaal River system per year. Construction of the second phase was delayed and it's going to deliver 400 million cubic meters of water per annum into the integrated Vaal River system from the new Podihadi Dam in Lesotho, which the project has commenced in 2022 and is due to be completed in 2028. In anticipation of the completion of the second phase of the Lesotho Highland Water Project, in 2028, Rand Water is implementing 35 billion 5-year rolling capital work programs, which includes increasing both storage capacity and water treatment capacity. To date, Rand Water has increased the capacity of the Zeker-Bosch water treatment plant to 150 million liters per capita per day at a cost of 3.5 billion. Rand Water is planning to implement further upgrades at the Zeker-Bosch water treatment plant to increase its capacity by a further 450 million liters per day by 2028. Ladies and gentlemen, the amount of water that Rand Water can abstract from the system is not being affected by the current closure of Lesotho Highlands Tunnel that is under maintenance. The Vaal Dam is currently approximately sitting at 33% full. And media houses have been asking me about this question to say there is no water in the Vaal Dam. I want to confirm here today that the Vaal Dam is sitting at 33%. be that as may, that water is enough. It is only when the water is at 18% that we are going to release from other dams in the system to fill up the Val Dam. And we have water that is more than enough at Sterkfontein Dam to increase the amount of water in the Val Dam. Rainwater is already abstracting water from the integrated Val River system at the limit set by the Department of Water, and will not be able to abstract any more water until the second phase of the Lesotho Highlands Water Project is completed to provide additional water. The rainwater is therefore not able to supply any more to the municipalities of Gauteng that is currently supplying, because the water that is abstracted at the moment is enough. As I've been saying, that what we are going through in Gauteng and all 11 municipalities of Gauteng, it is self-inflicted pain by municipalities where they were unable to do the necessary things, that is to operate their reservoirs and the water resource, as well as maintenance. The main underlying cause of water supply disruption in Johannesburg is therefore at the peak demand for water is close to and occasionally exceeds the available supply from rainwater. The demand-supply relationship for treated water in Johannesburg is very tight, and the system is vulnerable, and distributions caused by electromechanical breakdown or spikes in demand caused by heat waves. In addition to the completion of the second phase of the Lesotho Highlands water, the meeting agreed that City of Johannesburg must reduce the leaks in its water distribution system and complete its current projects to construct more reservoirs and pumping stations to make its water distribution system more resilient to electromechanical breakdowns or spikes in demand. In 2023, our no-drop report said the department has since observed that Johannesburg is going through the non-revenue water, which stands now at 48.3%. And that includes physical loss, unaccounted water, illegal connections, as well as tankering. This is far above the international norm. Reducing water losses requires a multi-pronged approach by the city, including, amongst others, improving billing and revenue collection, to increase the funds available for maintenance, and to provide better incentives for water to be used efficiently, improving pressure management, replacing aging pipes which burst frequently, and installing water meters and replacing dysfunctional bulk and customer water meters so that water flows can be measured accurately to determine the location of these losses. We are going to request all citizens, when city technicians go across the streets to check the leaks, they must allow them inside their households to ensure that they get the leaks and close the leaks. But they are going to do proper identification, because we do know that at that period, even people who know nothing about water might come and take their chances. Johannesburg Water presented the measure which is implementable, which include, amongst others, throttling of water supply between 9 p.m. and 4 a.m. This is in line with our restriction on level 1. To enable the reservoirs to level to recover overnight. If they don't do that, the reservoirs might not be able to fill up. So we're doing that overnight. The city intends to implement this continuously from the 14th of November until the system is fully recovered. Secondly, procurement of a panel of contractors for emergency repairs of large diameter pipe leaks, and as well as increasing the number of teams on standby during the week to attend the leaks and burst even during weekends. Increasing the number of repair and maintenance teams on duty during the weekend with the aim of improving leak repair responses, the time which is going to be a turnaround of 48 hours to 24 hours. Increasing the number of trucks available to its leak repair and maintenance teams. To implement the cut-offs of illegal connections in key informal settlements. Implementing advanced pressure management system, including the installation of 45 smart pressure controllers, that is to reduce the valves, in addition to the 15 which have been refurbished already by the city. Accelerating leak detection. To date, 12,100 kilometers water pipelines have been surveyed and 2,396 burst pipes, 6,727 leaking meters, 442 leaking valves and 259 leaking hydrants were identified and repaired. So these are some of the contributors which led to water disruptions. This intervention has provided an estimated water demand reduction of 9,457 million litres per annum. Working with the National Treasury to put in place a public-private partnership for the reduction of non-revenue water, to mobilize the private sector funding and expertise for reducing the non-revenue water. The meeting noted and strongly supported the approval by the Johannesburg City Council of a turnaround strategy for water, especially for Joburg water. The turnaround strategy includes ring-fencing of revenues from the sale of water for the water function, because more than often municipalities use sales of water for any other thing except to invest it back to the water infrastructure, as well as creating single point of accountability for the water function in the city. This intention is to give Joburg Water control over the functions related to managing water supply in the city so that it can be held accountable. Even after the second phase of the Sutuli Highlands, that a project that I've alluded to, Gauteng long-term water consumption will need to be carefully managed, because there are limits to which further phases of Lesotho Highland Water or other water transfer projects can continue to provide additional water to Gauteng at an affordable cost. In 2023, the Northrop found that the average consumption, as I've said, is 279 per capita per day. This is 60% above average of 173 per capita per day, which is an international standard, which is anomaly, given that South Africa is a water scarce country with limited sustainable water resources and amongst the top 30 countries globally. To address this, the Department of Water, Rand Water, the provincial government and all the municipalities in Gauteng are working together with civil society, with the leadership in various sectors, business leaders as well as experts, to implement a large-scale communications and awareness campaign regarding the need to use water more sparingly. The meeting noted that an independent body called Platform for Water Secure Gauteng has been established to manage this campaign, and that as a first step, a dashboard has been created by the Department of Water and Sanitation website to provide the public with detailed information on the status of water supply in Gauteng. Gauteng has no drought. We are not in a drought situation in Gauteng. Yes, we are in a crisis. The crisis that is caused by lack of maintenance of the water infrastructure, illegal connections, water tankering. However, given the commitments that we agreed upon yesterday, we can turn around the situation and people of Gauteng are going to have water if they can also adhere to restriction level 1. We urge communities to report vandalism of water infrastructure. The political leadership in the 3 spheres of government are confident that these measures will be when implemented, will have a good turnaround plan and strategy. If we can implement them with necessary urgency, will change the situation in Gauteng and in Johannesburg City. We agreed that similar meetings will be held every Sunday morning. We'll be holding these meetings to ensure that we do assessment of the past week to check if communities have not been adversely affected by water shortages. I wish to make this clarion call that this goes to all of us who are water users. The user pay principle must be adhered to by all of us. Even if you think that you have been overbilled, you must pay your obligation, pay water whilst you are making your own queries and taking the matter up with the city. But if you don't pay and you leave your account to accumulate interest, it also impacts negatively on the accounts of municipality. We also want to urge the communities to report the leaks wherever they see them, report those who are vandalizing the water infrastructure, but don't pass a leaking tap, close the leaking tap. Let us join hands to overcome this challenge. The challenge is there, but if we adhere to what I've said here, we might have water throughout the year in Gauteng. But if we don't, we might enter into a disaster stage. At the moment, they are still on restriction level 1. We are not yet on 2 and 3. I heard some media reports that Gauteng is on level 3. We have not as yet reached that stage, but we do think that with this that we have put in place, we are going to turn the situation around, and wish to apologize to all residents of the city of Johannesburg that they've been subjected to disruptions and they were unable to access water. We do believe that water as a human right must be accessed at all times, and therefore our people must use water sparingly. I thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Minister. We'll now take questions from members of the media. Let's have the first 6 hands and then move to the second round. Thank you very much. Lunga number 1, Melian Guardian. 2, 3, 4. We have 4, 5. You are 4, 5. Can I assume that's it for the first round? 5? 5 hands. Thank you. Move.
Thank you very much. My name is Lunga from the Median Guardian. I think it was last year, Chairman, when I think the guy was Eric Quad from Rainwater was speaking about the issue of high temperature being the cause of the water restrictions and all that. Minister Senzo Mfumi said the same, that the issue was the issue that people were migrating out and the issues of high temperatures that were causing this. But when you look at it now, we are not really in summer. How is the department, the city, the province, and everyone involved going to deal with this challenge? Because we are not yet in the peak of summer. So how do you plan to deal with that? And also, I think the Johannesburg Council, Chairman, approved I think it was a motion last year where it said to acquire water from different sources. So you were talking about water wells, and you were talking about, they said it would add about 45% of the water into the city's already water that is there. How far is that? And with the issues of leaks, I think it was 51% that the municipality was losing the water at that time. And it was last year in October, because that was when summer was still happening. So I just want to know, how far have you, with all those plans that you put last year, how far are you with that? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank Thank you very much. My name is Sandra Mboleko from the Sunday Times. Minister, my question to you today is, has the department conducted a thorough study or analysis of the impact of climate change on water resources? And do you have any strategies to mitigate these challenges? Thank you very much.
That?
I'm curious, I think this is to both the Minister and the Mayor, in regards to the restrictions that we put in place, the level 1 and 2. Apart from them being restricted, I think the question is then, so what? Have you seen residents getting fines? Have you seen any kind of an accountability process that happens when you break these restrictions? It's not enough to simply say, don't water your garden at midday, but what happens if I do? What are you going to do about it? And then on the same breath of restrictions, what are we doing about also then government buildings and large corporations that are also not adhering to these water restrictions? I hear us speaking to residents, but I think it does go a bit bigger beyond residents' responsibility. And I do see the panel here, perhaps this is for Joburg water officials that can answer. I see the whole panel here of officials, but we are members of JRA. As a utility, are you aware of the gaping holes across the metro where leaks have been attended to, but it has left these holes all over communities and residents and people's houses where they had to maintain leaks pipes, but they have now literally just left holes that have been left empty for months. When you speak to councillors in certain communities, they say that Johannesburg Water can't attend to this because it's a JRA official. So where are they on the panel, and what does the utility have to say about this shoddy craftsmanship, honestly? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there, thanks for organizing this meeting. My name is Julia, I'm from Daily Library. I just wanted to confirm, I think the colleague from Mayor Guardian was also asking, do we have an updated estimate for what percentage of whatever we're losing to leaks? Because I know we're emphasizing a lot that our consumption is, Joburg's consumption is a lot higher, but is that mostly due to the fact that we're losing water to leaks? And then in terms of the municipality's debt, could you provide us figures on how much exactly each municipality owes? And then what sort of financial mechanisms or support is the department providing the municipalities to implement the steps you suggested, like building more reservoirs, making the infrastructure more resilient, all that stuff? Because they're clearly struggling, and we've been struggling for years. So how are you going to support them? Yeah, I think that's all.
Thank you. At the back.
Thanks. Minister, I just want to find out, we were emphasizing...
Introduce yourself first.
Oh, sorry. Rod Frickers from Network 24. I just want to find out, we're emphasizing a lot on our clean drinking water and tap water, but another issue which has been quite prominent in recent times is our wastewater plants, where the wastewater isn't processed correctly, and a lot of times it's spilling over into our water resources such as the rivers and dams, and ultimately that's where we then need to source our clean drinking water again. So that's another prong that's contributing to one of these issues, and just what is the department's response on this to rectify this issue? And then secondly, maybe for the Minister and the Premier, just how thinly stretched is our resources now to jump and try and catch up on maintenance work or old pipes that has been bursting or leaking and so forth, and ultimately that resource is now being spent to catch up on this type of stuff. But are there still some proactive measures to ensure that this doesn't happen in the future heading forward?
Thank you very much. The leadership will provide guidance on who takes which question.
No, ke a bona. Ke bona mo gaufi, ke bone kgakala. Premier. Well, let me try and attempt to deal with a few issues the repairs and the leaks. And we have put in place a program, of course, to continuously repair the leaks and reservoirs. One of the biggest problems we have is actually our reservoirs. 45 of them are not in good state, so it requires us to put additional money to try and deal with our reservoirs. I think we are now sitting at about 11 that we are busy with. We have invested some money to repair those reservoirs, and the reservoirs will then help us to store sufficient water and will be able to mitigate against all interruptions that might be there, and we can continue to guarantee the supply of water to our residents. There's an issue, of course, around our government buildings, which I think we have been working around the clock, especially in the city, to ensure that in our own environment we conserve water as much as possible. Most of our water, we basically use it for drinking and the loo. So to a large extent, we're doing something about it. But we also want to call on residents in the main. We are lucky that the rains have now come in, so there's no need to water your garden with clean water. So we're emphasizing to our residents not to use clean water for watering their gardens. So there should be no use of water pipes or hose pipes to water the gardens. We are also working hard on a pipe replacement program, because we have acknowledged that our infrastructure is too old in Johannesburg. Johannesburg is a city established in 1886, and some of our pipes are 50 years and old. So we have to do something with the replacement, and I think we've been trying to do something in that relation. And then there's also questions around, I think it's Julia who asked about our percentage is basically sitting just around 40% and above in terms of our losses, both as a result of illegal connection, leaking pipes, and so on. So it might not necessarily be easy to quantify exactly, but it's around 40%, which is the biggest concern, because it means what we buy from Rand Water, we lose 40% of those, and it means we can't recover the revenue from water losses. And hence we took a decision even our Lekgotla this Friday that we are going to prioritize water infrastructure and pump more resources in our adjustment budget in January to help us do so. We're also looking at other funding models and instruments that will assist us to fund the water infrastructure, because now it has become more urgent than ever. So allow us that space in 2025-2026 budget to see if we are indeed investing. The question around what happened last year and where are we now, I think it's Lunga. We took a decision in 2022 as we developed our water demand management strategy. And that strategy we're starting to see some of the results now. As you know, that we have to go in and speak to communities, because unless you speak to communities, you are not going to win the battle. Two, we had to go into informal settlements, engage communities in informal settlements, to also use the water that we provide, which in fact we are not even recovering any revenue from the water we are supplying in those informal settlements. And there's also a general behavior issue in deemed consumption areas. So we're to Orange Farm. So we want to deal with the issue, because they're in deemed consumption areas, because they pay a flat rate of some sort into water, and as a result of that, they use water willingly, and they don't have conscious behavioral pattern to say, let's look after this scarce resource that is called water. So we have seen a bit of progress. One, in terms of infrastructure, you are aware that we are doing reservoirs. We are also building one of the biggest reservoirs around Brixton, which will ease the pressure in that area. We are also refurbishing 11, which we think by June, July next year would have concluded on the 11 reservoirs, which will help us to manage the water supply much, much better. Minister, I think I've touched, but there's an important issue with National Treasury as it relates to the reforms. I think there was a question around revenue of entities. We are now in a program with National Treasury just around service entities reforms, which is water, electricity, and waste. And there are reforms that we're putting in place so that we ensure that the revenue collected can then be reinvested into those entities to address infrastructure and all other issues. But over and above the illegal connection that we have been dealing with since we implemented this program, I think last week we went very aggressive into those areas. But at times we receive resistance from communities and we don't have the necessary capacity. And that is why we're saying a joint program between JMPD and SABC will help us a great deal to deal with informal or rather illegal connections and the bypassing of meters. We do have other customers who have the capacity to pay, but they've been bypassing meters throughout Johannesburg, including business entities, and we'll continue to call on them not to bypass meters. But into the future, Minister, I think that we require more innovation in terms of dealing with these issues. And that is why on Friday we said it is not our mandate to go inside the houses of people, but we have made that decision. We are going to go inside, deal with the leaks inside and the taps. We are going to go inside the churches as public institutions. We are also going to schools to ensure that we deal with the leaks. You may find that this 40%, part of it may be attributed to churches and all other public institutions, and hence we have made that decision. We've also made a decision, Minister, that we are going to work with business because we have to change in which the malls utilize water themselves. So we have to have a program with all the big malls that we have in Johannesburg to try and manage water usages even in our malls. We have also said internally, city parks will not continue to water their gardens. Unfortunately, it will affect the grass, but rainwater has always been consistent that it's grass. We should not really worry much about, because the grass has an ability to rejuvenate itself. So we've understood that part, but on a long term we've agreed with Joburg Water. We're going to look at the model of putting in boreholes so that we can pump water for our gardens at City Power. The same way we took a resolution to research work is been done. We are far now, and I think Joburg Water will be ready to give us a final report on the research on groundwater. We are looking at groundwater quantity, especially in the areas of Dorofontein, Ellis Park. There's a lot of water underneath, and they are concluding the research. We're also looking at entering into a contract with Gautrain so that we can then retrieve the water that they always have to drain out, so that we can use that clean water and feed it back into our system. So we are looking at those models. Thank you.
Thank you very much to Your Excellency, Comrade Minister, Babe Swamans Matol, and to Comrade Premier, Comrade Lesufi, Comrade Mamabula, the MEC, Comrade Data, the Mayor, the MMCs and the Chair of the Board, the DG, the Group CEO, the City Manager. Minister says I should try to answer some questions. Some are beyond Johannesburg. Probably one of the issues that we need to answer is the question that is being said by Lunga from Daily Maverick. Mail and Guardian. I can't see my handwriting here. I thought I would be a medical doctor and write like one. One of the things we have done, the Ministry of Water and Sanitation and Minister Majodina has confirmed that she will proceed with the state of water resources in our country through a proper assessment. How are we performing as a country? That's why the introduction of the drop reports, the green drop, the blue drop, and no drop report, it remains an important instrument to say how are we performing as a nation. But it does not only end there. It requires that Water Services Authority, they need to take a number of actions so that they can be able to change course around their own performance. One of the things that we have taken into account, for an example, around the blue drop reports, maybe I'll start with the question, how much water are we losing as a country? As a country, the water that is unaccounted for, non-revenue water, on average, it stands at 47.5%. It's a very highest one as compared to other issues that are happening in the world. Some you know, when you look at the question of non-revenue water, you must look at the advances local government have made over the last 30 years. When we give you statistics, we always say that the country's access to water has reached about 90%. And cities like Johannesburg, access is above 90%. But then there's a question to say, is the water available all the time in terms of reliability? The reliability is a function whether the water flows into the system. In this case, it has dropped in South Africa to about 66 to 67%. In other words, there are people who go for days, for weeks, for months, they don't have water. But there is a tap. And that one is a function of non-revenue water around the availability of infrastructure, that we call it reliability. If, for an example, here in Johannesburg, Comrade Dada loses about 48.3%. When he loses 48.3% in terms of non-revenue water, Minister has said that his actual fiscal losses on the infrastructure, there are illegal connections, even the water that you get through tankering, you don't account for it. Therefore, if we give Comrade Dada about 1.6 billion liters, that's what rainwater gives them a day. And close to 50% is going to the ground. In other words, he has about close to 1 billion. And if that billion was made available, in other words, citizens will have an assurance of supply around probably 70, 80, 90% all the time. But the difference today is that the minister and the premier, they are providing leadership. Because one of the problems is leadership. They work on the weekends, they do all these things. The premier himself, he has said, no, it doesn't mean that water is not my function. And they are dealing with that. There is that political committee he chairs. And by the minister, also Comrade Jacob, every Wednesday with every report. That's the accountability we see. But you could see Johannesburg and others who have said, fix the leaks. When we say fix the leaks, what do we mean? There are two elements. One element is that the pipes or the distributive network is old. Whatever you can do, maybe the technology is an AC pipe, already is gone on the ground. You have to replace. Replacement is a solution. But then there's a refurbishment where the other infrastructure, the condition, you can be able to do that. That's how you deal with the issues of non-revenue water. And in terms of that particular answer that I thought I should be able to do, it will also boil down to the other question the other brother asked about wastewater treatment works. In our own instruments we used, there's something called green drop. The green drop is about the function of the effluent, the wastewater that you actually discharge back into our rivers. In the main, the reports in South Africa indicate that there's been a deterioration. There is a lot of pollution coming from industries, coming from wastewater treatment plants, from the municipalities, but also from agriculture and the other users that are there. We are polluting more water. And the more we pollute water, what does it mean? It means the biodiversity, the hohakis are going to be affected. We'll have your algae, you'll have your icing, you have your lettuce that are there. And Minister assigned Deputy Minister Sitlulu, he has opened up here a polluter register. There's a task team that is there this morning. Our own ministry engagement with municipalities here. But it's not only the question that you'll have an impact on environment, but it has an impact on the availability of water. Because to treat the water, it's going to be very expensive. Because you'll have to put more in terms of the design system of your plant. You have to put more chemicals. When it becomes very expensive to treat, what does it mean? The money is going to be passed over to the users. In other words, you will increase the issues of that. But I think the issue of pollution, the polluter pay principle is working. That municipality in Mpumalanga called Msugaliko, where I come from, we went to court. They were fined 300 million. Another municipality also in Mpumalanga, I don't know why they do them from home first, so that we can go to other provinces. They've also been fined. Tabachwe, you would count a number of them. And we're not going to negotiate with polluters. Polluters must stop. If they don't stop, they are going to pay. That's why in many areas we've introduced what we call it waste discharge charge system. In other words, there's a premium that you must pay. In as much as we're supporting your municipalities here, Comrade Premier, but the pollution will have to stop. So supporter on the other side, but on the other side, it will be a carrot and a stick approach. One day I was sent by Comrade Minister, I was in Hartis. In Hartis, a small municipality called Matibeng. The Hartis dam is so dirty. That municipality's water is brackish. They don't even have the money to treat, and the waste is coming from Gauteng. That's why the minister said there must be a discussion so that we don't pollute downstream. And then we're polluting Free State, we're polluting Northern Cape, and Northern Cape is polluting Namibia, affecting the relations. Last week, minister was dealing with a problem in Durban. Someone from Maritzburg and those municipalities, they polluted water in Durban. And Durban actually had to reduce the water treatment, and minister had to call meetings in the middle of the night that Umgeni must be able to respond. Pollution is one of our biggest problems. But it does not mean we don't have the technology. We do have the technology. Every drop of water that is available, we are going to treat it. But when we treat it, it's going to come at a cost. The cost must not be borne by the most vulnerable. On climate change is a phenomenon that is here. It has two aspects in our case. Either it will be flooding, like is happening in the Eastern Seaboard. More rains will be found in KwaZulu-Natal, in the Eastern Cape, and certain parts closer to the seashore. Then there's going to be flooding. And how we build, in terms of building the infrastructure from an engineering point of view, we need to be at a different level, build much better. At a particular point, you'll remember the aqueducts in KwaZulu-Natal carrying more than 300 million liters of water. They were washed away. How we build it. In other words, we must be building as if the infrastructure we're building in the sea. But when it rains, it's a very good opportunity for us as a water-scarce country. We'll be able to catch the water mostly into our own dams. We're building more dams. We'll also be doing artificial recharging of aquifers. In other words, we must actually take the groundwater, the water that is flowing, then we push it to aquifers underground so that we don't lose that particular water. Minister is also promoting rainwater harvesting. It's cool that each in every household must have a water tank. Not a water tank, I mean a static tank. Not the one you normally call it J something. It's a company, that one. I don't want to use it here. It's a static tank. Each and every household must actually do rainwater harvesting. That's the advent of having more rains. And that's the time we must catch water. The downside is drought. When there is drought, it has devastating impact. You saw it in Nelson Mandela Bay, close to 7 years. In Cape Town, no water for a longer period. You go to Maluti Apofongo Kwako, it rains somewhere else. When there is a drought, we'll have to be able to implement these measures Minister was talking about. How do we do rationing? How do we manage the entire system so that at least we'll be able to deal with those? But when there is drought, there is also the positive side. Do you know that when there's drought, we'll be able to actually do desilting of our dams? Remove the silt that is there. That's the time for even operation and maintenance. That's what you could be able to do. We do have a clear climate mitigation strategy. As a department, as a sector, you can look at our national water resource strategy. Version 3 is clearly covered there. On acquiring other sources, Comrade Dada has spoken about it. One of the things in South Africa we want to increase the mix by reuse. You know the wastewater must not go to waste. Comrade Dada has a plant here. It's a 410 megaliters, Northern Works. Why should it dispose all the effluent? Instead of treating that water to be the right quality. When it is right quality, other industries will use it, even for domestic use. I know people, Minister, might say, but we can't use sewer water to drink. But the reality in South Africa is that there is a system that is integrated. You go to Tshwane, Hammanskraal, we call it Rooival. Sewer comes in, it gets treated there, it gets to a river. That river is called what? Apis. From Apis, it goes to a dam called Leeuwkraal. In the Leeuwkraal, this is where the effluent is. Then you drag it. You drag it into timber treatment plant. Then you can be in a position to use. We can use wastewater more and more. That's the answer to say where the additional drop will come from. And it's not something new. It's happening internationally, happening in South Africa. Even in Maritzburg, it's happening. We do drink wastewater, but that is treated. The other water, where will it come from, the mix? Comrade Dada is correct. Gauteng, because of mining, thousands and a million and billions of liters are underground. The issue of water reclamation from mine water is the best technology to use. Therefore, we will not be running out of water as a country, but probably do we have the technology? The answer is yes. Whether the technology is expensive or not, we should not have a problem. I thought this issue around climate change must be put in context, including how water will come from. The issues of restrictions have been accounted for in the accountability framework. The issues of debt, Minister has spoken. She's overworking us. I'm protesting. Yesterday, I don't know how many meetings we took, but the last meeting last night was with my province where I come from, Pumala. They do owe water boards. The water boards, they are owed around 22 something billion rands, close to 23 billions. Minister has been clear even in her presentation. The user pay principle is non-negotiable. We want water boards to be paid, but municipalities are owed to. They must be paid because of their viability. Minister has met with 8 premiers already. With all the MECs responsible for local government and all those who are owing the municipalities, they have entered into issues of an agreement on how to pay. But ministers don't say only pay. But we're also saying, but what makes you not to pay? There is a support system. The support system says the infrastructure is not in a good condition. That's why the examples around how infrastructure must be fixed, how she's making water boards available to these municipalities. Mfuleni, Comrade Premier knows, we're actually supporting Mfuleni to put an SPV. Rand Water is coming with its capability in terms of the balance sheet, the know-how and everything. There's an equity ownership that is there. Rand Water will go to the market, replace all the old pipes and the distribution network, Mfuleni as an example. They lose 72% of the water. And that's what minister says. I don't want you to say you must pay because it's not sustainable. In as much as we want to actually have credit control, but how do we support them? Even here, minister has made Rand Water is available to work with Johannesburg Water. They are working together to turn around the situation. Then there's a credit control issue around the issues of putting proper meters. The billing systems must be working, is part of the support. Then we say ring fence the money, and so that the monies are not there. In our own case here, this municipality has money they get from the USDG. In the USDG, which is close to 2 billion, we've asked the mayor, supported by the premier, that 33% of the USDG belongs to water and sanitation. There is money from the water sales. And in other cases, we give money through RPIC, we give money through WISIC, including the MIG, which is not in areas for metros. In MIG, 50% must be able to go to issues of water and sanitation. Then the portion around O&M for the OPEX, we say minimum 10%. But you can't put 10% when you know that you have a backlog. Therefore, the issues around funding and the support that is being made, apart from the technical engineers that we give, the kind of the meetings that we do all the time in supporting the water partnership that the DG working with the World Bank, the platform that is here, and Premier has become our ambassador and champion. Because the biggest problems in South Africa is leaders who actually make a decision to do nothing about the problem. But this Premier, with his leadership, is very different. Uthi le ndaba le sengeyakhe le ndaba le uyayingenela. I thought I should deal with those issues, Comrade Minister and Comrade Premier.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity, Honorable Minister, Premier, MMC, MEC, Executive Mayor, Chairperson of Johannesburg Water, my Group Chief Executive, all protocol observed. There's 2 specific issues that affect Rand Water which were posed. One is we have raised issues last year. What have we done? Last year we indicated that some of the challenges that are there is the issue of leakages in municipalities. It's also the issue of high temperature, which is one of the challenges that we have. That's why we are here today. I think what we have done is we have met with municipalities. On the 19th, we attended the Water Service Authority Summit, where we raised issues that impact on water supply in our area of operation. We've also brought in, I think the minister did indicate, we brought in 150 million liters a day into the system on the 31st of August. We are going to be bringing in another 450 million liters by the end of this financial year. This is outside the number of pipelines, the maintenance, the major maintenance that we did. between June and July earlier this year. So we are doing really something, and we meet on a daily basis at 8 o'clock. It used to be twice a day. We meet on a daily basis. Our Chief Operating Officer chairs a meeting where he meets with municipalities. In particular, he meets with metros, where they look at challenges in the system and then decide how they deal with those challenges. And those meetings assist us a lot in terms of distribution of water. But I think whilst we appreciate that the challenges are within municipalities, but let me just give you numbers. Rainwater at maximum, we provide 5.2 billion liters a day in Gauteng and few municipalities. In that 5.2 billion liters a day, municipalities lose about 48%, which is approximately 50%. Therefore, they lose 2.5 billion liters a day. However, we are saying, whilst there are challenges in municipalities, the Deputy Minister Mahlobe has indicated that we are not folding our arms and pointing fingers at municipalities. We continuously reach out to municipalities. That's why we have an approach which is supported by the provincial government, thanks to the Premier and the MEC of Kokta, in Mfuleni, where we say we want to partner with municipalities. Because we are listed on the stock market, on the debt side of the stock market, we are saying we'll be able to use our balance sheet to raise money in the market to assist municipalities to work together. And we ring fence. I hear that the mayor is also agreeing with us that we must ring fence water and sanitation revenue so that we then make sure that you ensure that the security of supply of water in the system. The other question was the question about, of course, the minister and the DM indicated that we have a 38 billion rand budget for the next year, for the next 5 years. That thing changes every year depending on the kind of work that we do. So we really committed to improving our infrastructure. We also introduced the biggest reservoir of its kind in the world, which is Vlakfontein Reservoir. It was launched last year in February. So we're also improving our storage capacity. We have approached several municipalities to also assist them as a service provider or in a form of a special purpose vehicle. So we really go out of our way to assist municipalities because we regard ourselves as part of the value chain. The issue about, there's a specific issue, question I think was asked by Julie about we should indicate the amount per municipality that the municipality owes us. The amount that is owed by municipalities in total to Rainwater, as we speak now, is 7.3 billion rand. That is owed by municipalities. We, however, interact with municipalities. Yesterday we had a meeting at 7. The minister is really working us very hard, the minister. I couldn't even go to church yesterday. And also the MEC is also overworking us, the MEC and the Premier. But I think it's because we regard ourselves as animals of state and we work together. We don't point fingers at each other. Instead we work together with the Premier, we work together with the MEC, we work together with municipalities, Johannesburg Water also, so that we ensure that there's safe security of water supply. Of course, there are challenges, but we don't think it's appropriate for us to point fingers and not work as a government to ensure that we mitigate against those challenges that we have. The plans that we have as Rainwater, we must indicate the launches that we have had. We actually have launched programs that were already in preparation for 2030. So we are very far ahead in terms of where we want to go as Rainwater. And the current challenges are actually almost undermining those plans that we have or those launches that we did, the programs that we have launched. However, we are confident that working with these municipalities, the support of the Premier and the MEC and our Minister, will be able to ensure that there's security of water in Gauteng and in the respective municipalities. Thank you.
Confirm that the work is not over.
And also thanks
I'm instructed by my mayor, because he's my immediate mayor. I don't have much choice but to adhere to that. And the Premier is also giving me this eye that I must do same. I must confirm that Johannesburg is not owing us, and that Swan is also not owing us. But other municipalities are struggling, but will get there. Ekurhuleni is also not, all the metros in Gauteng are not owing us. And thanks to the Premier, the MEC, and the respective executive mayors for their support, and the Minister and the DM. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I will attempt to deal with few issues that are remaining. But I want to give this context first. We convened a local government summit in the last 2-3 weeks to adopt what we said it's a 9-point plan, so that each and every municipality across the province can agree to the basics that bind all of us. And one area that was an area of deep concern was the infrastructure, because our infrastructure is not only aging. I think we are the generation that is inheriting an infrastructure that is aging at a very faster pace. So we needed to ensure that the infrastructure is improved in a manner that it assists us to limit leakages and many other things. But we are quite convinced now that each and every municipality is reviewing their budget so that this part of infrastructure can be attended to. So I'm trying to respond to Grant on how thinly spread we are in terms of our infrastructure resources. The second area, which is very important to us, is the user pay principle. I think we want to emphasize that point. If everyone that is using water is paying for water, our challenges will be minimal. But if there are people that are using water and are not paying for it, it creates serious problems. So we want to shield the poor. We are working on introducing what we call an indigent register. That is live, that is linked to all municipalities, so that those that are genuinely unemployed and those that are genuinely can't afford, we can be in a position to identify, register them, and give them service. We are coordinating that aspect as a province so that we remove the poor and confront those that need to pay for services. So this is a very important task that we are trying to really manage and assist municipalities so that we can protect those that can't afford to pay. So the message to the residents of Gauteng is simple. We have to reduce the consumption of water at a faster pace. If we can't do that, the system will not be in a position to carry us for a longer period. So it's in our best interest that the consumption of water is reduced. There is a red line that Rand Water is giving us. We are not only above the red line, we are far above the red line. So we need to just go back towards that red line. The last time we were at least reasonably below that red line was in 2023. It's an indication that is doable, that we can pull back the consumption. And the restrictions that Johannesburg is introducing is purely because if we can get Johannesburg right, it will be easier to get other municipalities right. Because Johannesburg covers a larger portion of Gauteng. And that's the reason why we are seeing ourselves investing our resources, our energies, and our skills on Johannesburg. And fortunately, we've got an executive mayor that is willing, that is not defending, that is allowing us to assist to deal with this aspect. So I'm going to meet with the executive mayor of Tshwane, and then we meet with the executive mayor of Ekurhuleni to then develop plans that can be aligned to the plans that Rand Water has requested us to work on. MEC Mamabulo is chairing the weekly or daily processes, but we need an overarching strategy that will assist us to really drop the usage of water. There's someone that spoke about law enforcement or maintenance or ensuring that our law enforcement agencies, they don't just pass when they see somebody watering either a garden during the day or somebody washing their cars with a hosepipe during the day or other things. So we want to strengthen the law enforcement agency part of it. So we're bringing the law enforcement agencies to say, let's plan together and plan from the center on how we're going to protect our infrastructure and how we're going to protect the resources that we have. And Minister insists on this, to say, you're Gauteng, your problems are man-made. It's not nature. We don't have a problem of rain. We don't have a problem of water in our dams. We don't have. So it means, therefore, we have to change the attitude. And the sooner we change the attitude, the better. And we don't want to use a carrot and stick approach where we just have to switch off people so that they can realize they don't have water. We really believe that we need to invest in a high-level communication program. And the DG within the Department of Water and Sanitation, they are leading a Safe Gauteng water campaign that is not going to be led by government, because, you know, the trust deficit between government and citizen, it has taken a huge dive. It's something that we need to resuscitate and bring back. So we want to bring those that understand the situation. We want to bring the leadership of the churches. We want to bring the leadership of NGOs and those that have interest in water to be our ambassadors in terms of communicating the importance of saving water and lowering the consumption of water. So if we can lower the consumption of water, we would have avoided the crisis that we are trying to paint, so that we don't find ourselves in a very bad situation. But I want to thank the minister, the TPT minister, for really, they are now permanent residents of Gauteng. And Minister, we appreciate your guidance, we appreciate your leadership with the TPT minister. We honestly want to assure you, we are on top of this situation. We will not allow this situation to get out of hand. We'll do everything within our powers to manage it in a manner that assists us. We also want to thank Rand Water, that they're a willing partner, even though they're going through difficulties. We overstretch them purely because they're a willing partner, so that we can at least ensure that we protect Gauteng is the economic hub of our country. And the use of water plays a critical role in the economy of our province. So that is why you see we are trying to protect this economy on the side of energy, on the side of water, so that we don't have a province that cannot deliver those two crucial products that are needed by our citizens. But where we are convinced that we can manage the situation. It's not easy, it's tough. We are learning new terms every day of abstraction. We are learning, so it's tough. But we are willing. We are willing to really manage this situation so that we can deal with it. But to our citizens, on a very, very serious note, the sooner we realize that we are in it together, there's no one that can point fingers to any other person to say, we are not doing this. All of us collectively, we must hold each other's hands and say, we will reduce the consumption of water so that we can save the economy of our province and ensure that every household have access to water. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Munam. Thank you very much for all the questions. Maybe I must emphasize that the closure of Lesotho Highlands Tunnel is not impacting negatively at the moment in terms of water supply to Gauteng, to Free State and to Northern Cape, because we did due diligence 6 months ago to ensure that We fill up all our storages. We have drilled boreholes, especially in 3 municipalities in Free State that were getting water direct from the tunnel. So that the capacity of our water storage will take us up to 9 months. We are on a second month now that we have closed the tunnel, and our deadline is that we are going to stay within 6 months. After 6 months, that tunnel will be up and running. So water can take us up to 9 months. So we don't have water crisis. However, we can have water crisis if we don't attend to things that we're saying here as the panel. The second one, how do we rescue the water boards that are in the verge of collapse? We had 9 water boards initially. 2 water boards went bankrupt because they were not paid by our own municipalities. And municipalities are saying we are not paid by consumers who are residents. We are not paid by some government departments. And we are making a call even now to say national government, provincial government, government entities pay municipalities. And municipalities, when they don't pay you, provincial government or national government, you must close water for them. Just close that water so that you not sense that they must pay you. However, we have agreed with the National Treasury that where municipalities don't want to pay, National Treasury will withhold their equitable share up until they pay their current invoices. So we don't want to go to an extent of water shedding. We really don't want to go through that. Our people have gone through difficulties of load shedding, so we don't want to go through water shedding. That is why we're going to have frequent briefings on the state of water in the country. Tomorrow I'll be making ministerial statement in the National Assembly to assure citizens of this country, South Africa, that our water balance is fine. We are not running into crisis not to have water. On the Hammanskraal, there have been reports that we are extending dates. When construction was done on the 3 sides, it was delayed a little bit. Saturday the 16th, we'll be handing over phase 1 of Hammanskraal, which is going to give people 12.5 megaliters, and that is what we have agreed upon. So it is up and it's going to happen this Saturday. The next phase will be in February, the third phase in April, the last phase in June. So we have not given up on that matter, but we had to follow all the processes to ensure that when we hand over that phase 1, water is clean, safe and drinkable. I thank you very much.
We have made a commitment that we will go to second round. Can we check if there are further questions?
Commitment can be changed.
How many? So we have 2. Kaukelo, who else? And you? Okay. You okay. Look, follow up. Okay, Kaukelo Maholera. You'll be second, my brother. You will be third. You'll be the last. Or you'll be the fourth last. Are we fine? Yeah. And I assume this will be the last round. Thank you very much, colleagues. Yeah. Leadership, proceed.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Hawalo Maolewa from UFM. You know, it's often said that people from other provinces, in particular the rural ones, keep coming to Gauteng in search for opportunities. The current upgrades of infrastructure that you are busy with, are they going to keep up with this influx of people? You've mentioned the squatter camps. Obviously, those are people who are here seeking opportunities. And then my second question regards to illegal dams. In other provinces, they often find that illegal dams, particularly by the agricultural sector, they steal water. It's unaccounted for. Is that a factor in our current situation? You know, even when there's no shortage of water premium, residents generally across the country don't trust the water that is coming out of their taps. They would have bottled water like yours, purified by commercial entities. are we ever gonna reach a stage where you would have a jug there of tap water at an event this important, or now are we just talking about supply with, to the extent that we have given up about ever getting the quality right of the water that is coming out of it?
Okay, thanks, Kaurelo. Maura?
Yes, Siyawa Masitole from the Star. I just want to know if the government is making any interventions when it comes to issues of water tank mafias who also tamper with infrastructure that maybe has to deliver water to communities, especially in rural areas where water becomes an issue, whereas the taps are dry, but families rely on water tankers.
Thank you. Stacey?
Afternoon, Minister. I'm Dr. Tubuana from Bloomberg News. My question is around costs associated to the interventions that you just laid out. Have you actually quantified how much will be needed to effect those interventions? Is this an additional budgetary allocation? And then my second question is what your understanding is around the economic losses or economic impacts of the current supply issue that we have on Johannesburg or even Gauteng.
Thank you very much. Oh, I missed it. Yeah, you'll come. You'll come. Yeah, go ahead, ma'am. Sorry.
The minister has expressed her faith in municipalities in Gauteng, saying, she outlined some plans, and if we follow these plans, then we should be able to stave off the crisis. So my question was, how much faith do you have that the city will be able to meet those obligations? And I'm speaking specifically after sitting in council meetings like the one in August, where the council voted against inspecting Terminal 2, which was leaking. A month later, we had to inspect it because there was no water in the area, and voting against putting up a filter to collect rubbish coming down the Hicks Gate.
Lunga, and then we'll conclude with you. No?
Sorry,
Veronica.
just in addition to my questions, I think now there's been reports that there's going to be water shedding, something of that sort, from the 14th of November from 9 a.m. to 4 a.m. indefinitely. Okay. Yes, is that the case? And also the chairman here was famous for, before he was removed as mayor, he was called the Jojo mayor, Jojo 10 mayor. Just want to hear from you, Deputy Minister, is that still something that you are saying it should be done? Because at the time was ridiculed that people should have Jojo 10. Are you saying it should be encouraged that people, at this current issues with the water, that people should be investing in Jojo 10? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Veronica. I think you are the last.
Yes,
Thanks.
no, just to go back to what I asked about Johannesburg Water's maintenance projects across the metro and the closure of the walls.
Thank you. Over to the leadership.
Let me just, I must read my handwriting, comrade. The issue around dams, there is an issue of water hogging in South Africa. There is water hogging, in other words, without an authorization by the minister. In other words, remember there is a principle in water. The principle in water, it says all of us, we live downstream. In other words, you must allow the drop of water, that if you use what you are given, you allow the water to get into the system for Khokakis, which is the reserve. You allow for the other people, including international obligation. In South Africa, we do have a problem. not only farmers, there are a number of farmers that have done illegal dams. Minister, she has made a call. Remember, she went to the Western Cape. There was an incident of flooding. There are these people that they are private dams. In South Africa, we have more than 5,000 registered dams. And then the majority of them belongs to private people. Our message, nobody, and I repeat, nobody must use water without an authorization. If you do, we are breaking the law. And as a Minister of Water and Sanitation, there's a due date that people must be registering all their dams. When you own a dam, it must meet certain standards in terms of dam safety. And we have an obligation that from an engineering point of view, you can't just build a dam that does not have a risk mitigation method, like a spillway. Unlike let them like minister paying a spillway. Then the department we do have what we call it approved professional persons. There are very few of them. People that have a capability, they are part of an international organization around dam safety. And South Africa were proud because of the number of dams were in that organization. In the meantime, in Limpopo, there's an accusation that another farmer is hawking water there. People in the Mikliletaba, they don't have water. And the minister has appointed the retired Justice, Judge Mwepe, with a very capable team. Very shortly, the report will come through. But nobody must steal water. The very same thing around groundwater. There are many people who are putting boreholes. We want them, even if it belongs to Schedule 1, whether it's general authorization, but we want you to register them. It's a water use. And we want to know whether the volumes are right or not. Because if people are going to think that we are going to take more boreholes and they go beyond what is provided by the law, we'll have to be able to build them. Remember, every drop of water counts, and we must account for it. Then the issue that people don't trust water. There is an issue of trust deficit. We are absolutely correct. The results that we have seen, they are actually about confidence building of the drop reports. The drop reports are actually an important assessment. How are we performing? But it's also, if we say it's a confidence building, even if I want to come and invest, if I'm going to come and invest in your city, I must ensure that my product is of good quality, that in terms of the market, in terms of occupational health and hygiene, and the requirements of the World Trade Organization were not being thrown out. Imagine if, for an example, we are in the citrus business. You do an export. We are creating more job opportunities here, but it is an income in terms of being dollar rated. And then your oranges and all these other things are thrown back because the water content that was there has certain elements that are actually not to them. Even the food, especially the meat, we export a lot of meat. It has that particular impact. But I can assure you now that where there are water boards, everywhere in South Africa, where there are water boards, the water is safe to drink in the taps. Here in Gauteng, they are provided by Rand Water in the main. They are also provided by Mahalis on the other side of Tshwane. The quality is the best. You can drink it within the tap. But don't drink it in any tap. There are taps that are actually having a red mark in parks. If it's a red mark, you don't drink it. There are signs that are there, but as probably of consumer education, we need to do that. But the municipality, I must agree. I must agree. The level of, what do you call it, a chemical component, it can be above certain levels, like what happened in Temba, in Hammanskraal. If a child is less than 3 months, you drink the water from that Temba plant, it can cause diarrhea, and the more volumes are, you can even die because of the nitrates. Some municipalities, I'm not going to embarrass them here. Even myself working with the minister, they will not drink. And that's why we say our action plans is to improve the quality. The quality of water, which is we call it the blue drop, is SANS 241. That's the standard. And we are probably one of the few countries in the continent that has actually standards from SABC. But then the issue, when you look at the matter of water quality, you must also look at the infrastructure. Don't lose the infrastructure, which is your non-revenue component. Because if the infrastructure is corroded, one day even the water that comes from rainwater is so good. When it gets into a municipal system that is actually not at the right condition, the water can come out of the tap looking brackish. And it does not mean it's rainwater, because someone has not done the maintenance. And then don't look only on non-revenue component, look also on the green drop. The pollution, when there's an ingress, there's no separation in other areas, you will have a problem. Then the issue of support and how much money are we spending in Gauteng. We have not counted it. Minister has not counted it. But one of the things Minister has done, he has deployed rainwater. Rainwater is spending billions and billions here in Gauteng just to ensure water security. That's why in the current infrastructure, current demand, the chair of the board was telling you about what we have done in Vlakfontein. He has also told you about what we have done in Vereeniging around Pump Station. Minister says to rainwater, I'm going to give you more water by 28-29. If the water arrives from Lesotho, additional 500 million cubic meters, rainwater must be ready to treat that water. That's why the 35-38 billion is the support that is there. But government is supporting, it's not about Minister Majodina supporting them. Government is supporting Joburg. They are getting urban settlement development grant like all other metros. In terms of the share of Johannesburg is 2 billion plus. In the 2 billion plus, 33% of that one belongs to water and sanitation. That is the traditional funding that is available. Minister says to Comrade that it looks like your financial position, in as much as you are paying rainwater, is not sufficient. I want us to go and look for money for you. You have a backlog. Remember, Comrade Tata, when he was in MMC Finance, he's the first MMC who put R1 billion aside just to build more reservoirs, more pumps. But that R1 billion of Comrade Tata is not sufficient. He needs 3 billion. Where will he get the 3 billion? Minister has said, I'm going to go to the market with you. There is a budget facility. That's why Sean works with National Treasurer. We work with DBSA. We are looking at the question of a special purpose vehicle where this entity that is capable. They have a very good CEO here, Johannesburg Water, one of the best. And if Baba Mnigeta ma tools of trade, he will be able to do his job. And rainwater will be able to work with him around additional funding and other issues. There is a partnership office there. We go to the World Bank, we go to the BRICS Bank and other mechanisms that are there. These are some of the things that Minister has spoken about, so that at least we are able to cater for the demand, because the demand here is far exceeding the availability of the resource. Thank you. Oh, the Jojo tank. The Jojo tank is a simple matter. I said to you, Minister said we need to do water harvesting. What does water harvesting mean? You have to catch the water. And our recommendation is that going forward, even when we build, we must build even the design of the roofs. They must be in such a way that they actually capture the water. They create a catchment at home. And then you must have the gutters. And then you must have a tank. I call it static tank. Don't allow me to promote a company. It's a static tank. We'll capture the water there. And then going forward, the department will work with municipalities. What we will do, we'll have to put new infrastructure, new pipelines. We'll check how the water is flowing. When it flows, we know that underground there's water, there's an aquifer there. We'll be able to drain that water, put it down there, so that at least there must always be water available.
Well, thanks. I think we're experiencing an influx, of course, of about 18 18,000 on a monthly basis that comes to Johannesburg, which of course it will put a strain of our infrastructure. So as we continue to do planning, we accommodate the fact that Johannesburg is constantly growing. So our engineers, our designers, as they do the reservoirs, they put that in mind that there's a growth, and some of the growth is not really determined by us or directed by us. So there's huge urbanization that is happening, and we are alive to that fact, and hence we're trying to ensure, and at least we have now reached an agreement with State South Africa that Johannesburg is now sitting at 5.8 when we ourselves had projected the 6.1 million people. So at least there's something that we are seeing. We are receiving just around 1.9 billion in terms of our USDG. And I think part of what we're going to do is then do what the minister has instructed us to do, that we allocate at least 33% of that towards our water infrastructure. And in fact, water remains one of the key revenue generating for the city. So most of our revenue also get it from the water surpluses. So I think there's something we would have to do in addressing the issue that we have asked. We also try and ensure that we keep the 98% blue drop in terms of our water quality. So you can drink Joburg water anywhere you are, because we are at 98% in terms of our blue drop. So our water is the safest in the continent. So you can drink it. Don't be scared. But don't use it to wash your car or to water your garden, because we need to preserve the water. In terms of our water tankers, we supply in the main in informal settlements and only in other areas as and when there's water disruptions. So we ensure that we go through a proper tendering processes to appoint those that will do water tankering as and when we need them, especially the supply of water in the informal settlements. When we get there, we then put it through I just got the right term today, static tanks, so that we can supply the area. We have also taken a decision that in our parks we want to build catchment areas. There's a technical term for it, so that we can harvest the water, the rainwater, and use that to water the gardens, the grass and the flowers in our parks. So it's a program that the city is gonna undertake. Alex, has still indeed there was a motion presented in council, and we said there's no need for a motion. The councillors from the other party only needed to request the MMC of infrastructure to go and conduct oversight. It didn't need a motion. And in fact, a week or 2 weeks later, they did go to that reservoir to conduct oversight. So sometimes it's just, you don't need to bring a motion to do council work. We just have to work together, the executive and council, so that we do work. So that was done, and in fact that reservoir has damages. It needs to be refurbished, and next to it, just about 500 meters from it, we are building a very huge reservoir called the Brixton, which will then supply the entire area. I think we're doing about 26 megaliters in the area, which we think it, in fact, the technical people are also saying it will give us about 48 hours. Is it 48 hours more, in a sense, when there are disruptions, we'll still have enough supply for just over 48 hours in the area. Eh? 82 hours. Or 83. You see, I'm not technical, but I'm getting there. 4 days. 4 days, yeah, let's say 4 days. I think I've answered the issues that were meant for Johannesburg. JRA. The JRA issue, we have budget allocated at the Johannesburg Water. So Joburg has made budget available to JRA. They are trying their level best to clear the backlog. There's a backlog indeed. Your question is honest. But in other instances, we allow the area to be left open so that we can assess that, in fact, the leak has completely been closed. But yes, we have a backlog, but there's resources and the budget made available. The city manager, together with the water, JRA, and we've got a department called CRAM, they did meet last week to put in a plan to push the backlog so that before we go to Christmas, at least the backlog has been reduced, and then we can go and enjoy our Christmas.
What are we doing about the mafias that are doing water tankering? We are working with the Minister of Police, Minister Mchunu, because we view that as criminal, because it does not start on demanding a tender, but they start by vandalizing the water infrastructure, and that cause harm to ordinary citizens because they want to be contracted to give water. So every time people see that our water infrastructure is vandalized, they must report that. So we are taking this matter up, not as alone. The Department of Public Works is also affected by these mafias, construction mafias, as well as human settlement. So that is taken as a criminal case. That is why on Thursday we'll be debating the NSOP on these mafias. The water tanks, when you are saying store water in your tanks, we're not saying take purified water from the tap and fill up your tank. Harvest water from the rain. Don't fill up your water tank by our purified water. That purified water must come out of your sink. Don't store it in your water tank. They've already alluded to the quality of water. You know, you go to other countries, by the time you arrive there, you are told, don't drink this water, it's not drinkable. You hardly see that in South Africa. And we must give credit where it is due. South Africans were doing very well in terms of water. We are not fighting about the rivers that we share with Namibia, Mozambique, Eswatini, Lesotho, Zimbabwe. We're not fighting about those rivers. I was in Egypt. You know the issue of the Nile River. There are people who want to own up Nile River, that because Jesus Christ do something around Nile River. Therefore, this is our river. So allow the natural and precious rivers to go across the countries. It does not negotiate for political mandate to go across your country. It will go, but don't block the river. That is why we're working very well with other countries. I wish to pass sincere condolences to two families who lost their two children last night. There is an intervention that we are doing in Machabeng Velcom. The contractor left the trenches not closed, and by nature, children, when they see water full, they go and swim. It was so unfortunate that a 10 and 11-year-old, they drowned last night and they passed away. We are investigating the matter, but we are making a call to all contractors that when they are doing work, they must finish up and they must ensure that they put all safety measures around that area. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, leadership. Colleagues, that's the end of the briefing.
Every time you go to a publication, the publication.
Yeah. I want to check it.
Yeah, yesterday I was in Aberdeen, the other day I was in heaven, therefore saying that the problem this side is not enough. But thanks for covering all the time. Okay.
Nasuthatha amamayiki wethu. Senzani? Yeah.